Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the F4L Headquarters Podcast. Thank you. Thank you. You guys are too kind. Thank you so much. I very much appreciate that. Thank you, everybody. Well, today, folks, we have part one of two shows tonight. All right, folks. So today's show is going to be the usual randomness. This part, anyway, the random show and formats that you guys are used to, the shout outs and the updates and different types of things like that. And a little later on tonight, just so you guys know, we're going to be back on here, and I'm going to be hosting a little bit of a Halloween celebration, as I'm going to be telling some spooky stories and celebrating Halloween, maybe reading a poem or two, maybe my own, and maybe a legendary one as well. You never know. You're going to have to tune in later on tonight for the Halloween Spectacular later on tonight. But right now, we are going to kick things off the right way. So let's kick things off with a little bit of fun news, everybody. Thank you. Ants were sleeping at the moment, so I had to wake the ants up. Apparently this is their nap time. As you guys know, I have an ant band who do all of the things. So yes, the ant band are currently taking a little bit of a break right quick, as they are learning new tunes and so forth. I bet you guys didn't know that our ants are very multi-talented. As not only do they separate segment to segment, but they also are responsible for any music we do, like accompanying Chuck Norris or the various other things that they can do. And you guys thought ants were just, senseless bugs. Silly yous. All right, folks, let's kick things off the right way. So you guys heard the bowling ball. And because this week has been kind of an interesting week for me, particularly as I've had a very busy week, this week I was torn with some moral dilemmas as I debated about doing the show that I eventually did this past Wednesday. So if you guys have not heard that one, I do urge you guys to check out the show that I did on Wednesday in regards to the SAG-AFTRA and the studio's strike saga as that continues. We're going to talk about that maybe a little bit later, but right now we're going to give you a quick bowling update. Because I don't remember if I did that yet. But what I wanted to say is, first of all, one of the things that is incredible about team sports, one of the things that I am very much in favor of, and one of the things that I think that a lot of people might miss the point of why sports are important for growth and other things. The reason being is because in essence, kids need, especially with youths or young people, what a team sport does, it teaches kids teamwork and unity and how to thrive together, discipline, coming together as one. And I know that recently there's been a debate about the so-called participation trophies. And here's my stance on the participation trophies. I never got a participation trophy. I earned every trophy I had, and they meant that much more to me. I think when you give everybody a trophy for playing in a game just because they played in the game versus winning in the game, I think that diminishes the actual winners of the contest. And sports are there to be competitive, but you can have fun doing them. There's nothing wrong with having positive, what we call it, positive rivalry. Like, for example, I played 3 sports, as people remember, in high school. Well, 4 if you include the one year I did both soccer or football to the world audience and American football at the same time one year, and I decided never to do that again. That was a little bit more ambitious than I had hoped. But I think what's important about team sports is that when I did those sports, did we always win every single one of those games, whether it be in soccer or football or on the wrestling match? Did we all win there? And did we all win every single one of the swim meets we did? And the reality of it is no. We can't take credit for winning all of those things. But what we can do is take those losses and learn something valuable from it. That's what we learned as teammates, as players, and so forth. We as players learned how to rally together, to overcome the obstacles and the adversity, to ultimately end up, becoming better at what we did. And we became one as a team, and if we lost to a specific team or a town, then what our coach would do is we'd go back on practice and work on those things. And then when we played that team again, we learned the value of that loss. Because sometimes when you continue to win over and over and over again, granted, that's a fantastic feeling to have, right? We all want to be successful. But I think a lot of people put too much emphasis on loss, like it's a negative thing. And what a loss does, ultimately, is it gives you a tool that you can then adapt to learning from that experience. It's a valuable knowledge, right? When you can say that this team or this person beat you in something, well, now you have to do the work to figure out how to change that outcome for a future date. Now, in sports, especially in high school sports or team sports, usually, usually you are playing the same teams over and over again. Usually there's a division that you belong to when we're talking about high school sports. So the division you belong to, and normally you will face those schools that you're in that region of, in that division. And then what will happen is at the end of the year, if you're lucky enough to go to the finals, then you might see other people outside of your district at those big games at the end. The championship games type of thing. And I think what's important is, whether you win or lose, I think what's important is, one, you work as a team and you learn from each one of those losses or the wins. Of course, it's good to win. It feels great to win. But losing has a certain element of joy as well, because you can learn from that loss, and it gives you a little bit of a humility. It's a humility thing. It teaches you a little bit of being humble. I know that was a term that was thrown around not long ago. That was like a quote famous saying that people were using, "Stay humble." But in reality, that's been a saying for years before it was quote a meme. And it's important to remember that we're all human, and when you play against other people who are also human, hey, listen, everyone has a rough time and everyone can be beat. Every team can lose. Every team can win. It comes down to who wants it more and who wants to play harder, ultimately. And it doesn't matter what the sport is. If it's a team sport, then you work as a team. That's the joy of working as a team. And you might have a teammate who is struggling. Well, then that's your responsibility as their teammate to help them get to where you are, if you think you're better than they are, or if you feel you're the leader, or you're someone who is meeting all of your goals, then it's your responsibility as a member of that team to look after the ones who are maybe not at your level yet, to help elevate them to your level, so you as one team are cohesive. That's what being a team is. So that brings us back to the bowling thing. Now, a lot of people might not know, again, we're going to get to the bowling updates, which is a good one. But what I wanted to say also is a lot of people may or may not know that for a long time in my younger days, before I got married and had kids and all that stuff, I worked as a Big Brother mentor. And one of the things that I would normally do as using as a tool is a lot of the kids I worked with was, quote, in the special cases category, which I never liked that term. I don't think that was an appropriate term for kids who were just kind of, usually misunderstood or, whatnot. And I didn't really care for the term too much. However, what I can say is one of the tools that I used a lot is I was on a bowling team. And of course, that's a different type of bowling that I'm used to now. But one of the things that is good about a bowling league is it's a team, and it's a great way for young people or people in general to learn the value of teamwork, the value of, holding one together and being, responsible for your part of the team. And also, hey, everyone has a rough night, right? Sometimes we all get strikes, sometimes we get spares, some of us get none at all. But that's when your team rallies behind you and you learn that importance of that belonging to that team. When if one of your team members might have a rough night one night, then that means the rest of your team gets to hold you up and build around you. And that's ultimately why I utilize the bowling league as a valuable tool to help mentor these young people who, at the time are, a little social awkward sometimes, and sometimes they wanted that connections with people. In all honesty, bowling or team sports in general have a great value to them in that sense, right? So I am a very component to easy thing. Bowling is something I think is universal. Everyone knows how to bowl. And, that's one of the reasons why I, brought people aboard. And one, they'd learn a new fun thing. It's good for exercise. It's good for discipline. It's good for also planning and strategy. And people who are struggling with school, it's also a valuable tool because of the math that's involved in bowling. How many points do you need to beat your bowler? Or how many pins does a team need in order to be successful? A lot of people don't really contribute bowling to education or whatnot, but here's the thing about learning. People can find ways to learn valuable lessons in other ways. Like bowling, for example, or sports in general, is a way for kids to learn fun, valuable lessons they're going to need in life. But also, because of the fun element and they're having so much fun, they don't even realize that they are learning. That they are utilizing things that they thought were kind of a drag at school. But when you can contribute it to something that they can do, like like in a fun aspect, like bowling or pool, billiards, or different other, even soccer or football to the world audience, or any other sport. Basketball is also another one. I don't think a lot of people understand the actual mathematical terms that are involved with each of those. I bet until I just mentioned it, you guys never thought of basketball being something educational. Same thing goes for golf, tennis, which we'll talk about some new friends of ours that we wanted to recognize in our second part. But in retrospect, a lot of those sports, or a lot of people don't realize the math that goes along with each of those. For example, basketball works with geometry as well as geometry, as well as graphics, as well as algebra, believe it or not. Okay, so, for example, and also obviously adding, subtracting, multiplying, and so forth. So, let me break it down to you for basketball, for example. So you have the element of being able to know the pattern on the court, right? And then you also have to know how high to throw the ball, that it will fall within the circle. So it's a round sphere that has to go into a circle, and you have to actually be able to, at a drop of a dime, be able to throw the ball with a certain amount of force that's behind it to go into that hoop to score yourself points. Depending on where you are, more points for harder shots and closer shots are a little less. But until I just mentioned that now, you probably never thought of all the mathematics that are involved. Gravity and science is thrown in there as well. A lot of kids today roll their eyes about science and certain parts of math that, I'm never going to need this in life. But in reality, you use these things every single day without even knowing. This is an example right here when I'm talking about basketball. Basketball has all of those elements. Soccer is another one. How hard do I have to kick this ball to get it to go over to here? And what force do I have to get it? And what angle do I have to kick it in? And then also strategy. If I kick the ball this way, can I get past that kid, the goalie, or the goalkeeper? So these are the elements of learning of each of those valuable tools. So as far as our bowling team goes, a number of weeks ago, I just got back from Monster Mania last week or a couple weeks ago, and weeks prior to that, we were having a little bit of a slump, right? We got a little bit comfortable, and we were tied for the longest time in second place, and we were chasing first place, and when we really could have been in the first place spot, we kind of had a rough time. I particularly had a rough game. I want to point out again, I'm doing a different type of bowling that I'm still learning the elements of. Now, I'm going from using a bowling ball that is about the size of a oversized, for those people who've ever played bocce, picture a bocce ball. It's about the same size as a bocce ball or an oversized softball. And, basically that's what a candlepin ball is, and that's what I'm used to throwing. I'm also used to, it's a different style than what the world knows as bowling. Now, granted, in my time, I've done 10-pin, as people in my area call it, because in my neck of the woods, we have three types of bowling. And I'm sure a lot of people who are tuning in, who are outside of the United States, or maybe outside area, probably didn't know there were three types of bowling. The world probably knows bowling as the big giant pins with the big balls. You put your fingers in the hole and you throw the balls down. That's called 10-pin where I am, and that's actually the name of that style of bowling. I grew up in the New England area, and in our neck of the woods we have two other styles. One was invented in my home state, which is called candlepin bowling, as I've described before. The pins are taller and skinnier, and thin, kind of resembling a candlestick. Now you know why they call it that. So the pins are shaped more like candlesticks, and the balls are smaller, and they fit in the palm of your hand, and they range. The heaviest, ball weight in that is maybe about 3 pounds, legal, that you can use in the tournament. Because, obviously, you need balls that'll fit, candlepin is smaller balls. And then you have duck pin, which is another style of bowling, which now you guys are really like, wait a minute, what? And duck pin is another style of bowling, which the balls actually resemble candlepin balls, where there are no holes in the ball, but the balls are slightly bigger than a candlepin ball. So now we're talking about throwing a ball that maybe is about the size of maybe a medicine ball, and you throw that instead or a basketball, say. And that's kind of a duck pin ball. So the balls are a little bit bigger than a candlepin ball. There are no holes that fits in your hand, in your palm. They're a little heavier, obviously, because they're a bigger ball. But also the pins are going to be the same amount. It's always 10 pins. But the pins are smaller, short in stature, and they're flat, kind of resembling, a duck. Hence the name duck pin. Like if you ever saw like a rubber duck, they kind of, it kind of looks like a bunch of rubber ducks. They are also made in circles, but they're flat. Or if you were to take a 10 pin and just squash it down to maybe half the size, that's pretty much what a duck pin is. And basically that's what that's called. Candle pin, you can throw, it's 3 balls per turn. So you have a chance to get 10 pins in one turn. You can knock all the pins down. I mean, it sounds easier said than done. Anyone who's actually bowled can tell you that what I'm describing is a lot harder than it is to actually execute. Getting a strike, getting a spare, those are rare things. Really good people can do it all the time. But sometimes it's not about the strikes you get, it's about how do you fill them. I can tell you that for myself, I am notorious for getting strikes or spares, and then right after that, because, like, for example, in this 10-pin thing, where in candlepin you have your 3 balls and one frame. So you'll throw 1 ball, and then if you get them all down, obviously that's a strike. You could fold the second ball, then you can get a spare. But if there are still pins left up, and now this is where it's different than the other styles of bowling. Now in candlepin, the wood, which is the pins that are fallen, actually stays on. The wood actually stays on the lane until the frame is done. So in other words, in candlepin. So in 10-pin, as you know, you throw your ball and then the thing resets, and whatever doesn't fall down, those pins are left standing, right? And there's no wood there. Duck pin is a similar thing where you have 3 balls also in duck pin, by the way, but it clears the wood like you do in 10-pin. So duck pin's really a combination of the two put together. And I'm not exactly sure where duck pin began, but I know candlepin began in my state. And is only in our region. And duck pin is a dying breed as well. Actually, both are really a dying breed. But it's nice to see bowling is still going strong and people are still enthusiastic about it. But anywho, in concept, I'm still learning the 10-pin thing where, 10 pins are the bigger balls, you put your fingers in the hole, and that is what the world knows as bowling. That's what I'm doing now. My son, who was on my candlepin league with me as a younger kid, and now he is, he's doing this, and ultimately he is better than me in the 10-pin because he grew up in a time where he got to do a lot more of the 10-pin than I did. But I'm grateful that I have a great teammate, my son, and our team, which consists of our family, friends, and our future in-laws, who are fantastic people as a whole. And sometimes when you have the right team behind you, it's really unstoppable. So I'm happy to report, after all that 2 weeks of us, being around the second place and being half a point out of first, I believe, according to last week, we are in first place officially this past week, as we absolutely took every single one of the games this week. As we've rallied behind each other, we each took turns, kind of holding our own in the games. I did have a few marks. My son got a few marks. Our other friends got marks when they would need it. Marks, by the way, for those people who don't know, I'm not talking about wrestling. I'm talking about strikes and spares. In bowling terms, those are marks. Because when you used to use paper and pen to take and do your scores, you used to have to put marks on the page. It would be a square. It would be 2 lines, one on the top corner and then one on the bottom corner. That would signify a strike. A spare would be one single corner of the top that was blocked off, and that's why they call those marks strikes and spares. A 10 is just a 10, obviously. You don't get extra pins for neck and 10, but as you guys know, in regular bowling you only have 2 balls per turn. So the most you can do is a spare if you're lucky. If you don't get that, then you left. It's called an open frame. And for those people who don't know, when you get 3 strikes in a row, that's called a turkey. I know. Everyone's like, what? Yeah, so if you get 3 strikes in a row in any bowling, it's called a turkey. That is a term that is used by pro bowlers and bowlers in general. So the name of our bowling team is a bunch of turkeys, which has a double meaning. So the bird turkey, as well as 3 strikes in a row is a turkey. I can honestly tell you guys, as of right now, I've not done the 3 turkeys yet in a row yet. But I have done this in the past in the other style, and I think it's only a matter of time until I do it here. I've got close. We got 2 out of the 3. I got 2 in the spare, but that's not a strike. But that's how that works. I invented a new term too. 3 spares in a row is called a chicken. That's a new one. Fellow bowlers, you can use that one if you would like. There you go. Now you know. Knowing's half the battle. But yeah, I want to say, it's been great learning experience getting to get used to this style of bowling, and also coming together as a team, backing each other up and supporting each of us. So I'm very happy to say that I believe we are in officially first place as of this past week. I will have an update for you guys this coming Tuesday to find out for sure where exactly we're going to end up. So we'll be in touch. All right, cool. There's bowling. And, we have uniforms now. I think that might have paid into the unity. I don't care what anybody says. I feel like when everyone has some type of thing that bonds you together, whether it be a certain article that everyone wears, or a T-shirt, or something of that nature, something that bonds you together as a team, helps you generally become better as a team. I grew up in team sports, as we've already talked about. So having a uniform that other teammates are wearing the same uniform, that shows that unity and it shows that pride within your outfit and your club. So there you go. All right, folks, that has been my bowling update. So now that the ants are awake, let's go to our next segment.
Of a ranger, the unsuspecting stranger had better know the truth of wrong from right. 'Cause the eyes of the ranger are upon you. Any wrong you do, he's gonna see. When you're in Texas, look behind you, 'cause that's where the ranger's gonna be.
All right, everybody. Yep. So if you couldn't tell, that's our intro for our shout-out portion, which is probably the most popular part. Now, why is that particularly the song? Well, because first of all, is anyone going to tell me that Chuck Norris is not someone who's legitimately legitimately someone worthy of a shout out? The man has more jokes about him than anybody else on the planet. He even acknowledges the jokes that are told about him, keeps a sense of humor, but still continues just to be himself. So there's that. So yeah, that's it for now. And yeah, by the way, that's also the entrance music to the Menu Boys, for those people who ever wondered. Our teams are, believe it or not, I just want to say before I get into shout outs, if you guys ever wondered, so because on YouTube for Icons of the F4L, we are not able to have actual music accompanying the people of our roster to the ring. However, if you go to our YouTube channel, the one that you can hear this on right now, there's actually a playlist called the Icons of the F4L intro music. Those entrance videos are actually, that playlist of all that music is actually music that the Icons, our guys on the roster, would actually come to the ring to. And we're constantly updating that with our newer members and so forth. And some of these people you'll hear today will have new music and have music currently. So if you're ever wondering, so why is there no entrance music to these, fine athletes we have? Well, theoretically, they do have entrance music. It's just because of rules and whatnot, we're not allowed to have those in the videos themselves. However, there is a playlist on YouTube as well as maybe 2 playlists on Spotify that have all of the Icons of the F4L, both for the Dream Warriors, the females, and the Dream Masters, the male roster. So, should you ever want to hear what people come to entrance music, by all means. And usually, depending on who it is, I can probably tell you guys who's got what, and most people know anyway. So there's that. So let's kick things off with a heck of a... we got 2 shout-outs. We got a bunch of shout-outs. We got 20 altogether. Maybe a little bit more. Okay, let's start with our first shout-out. And of course, it being number 1, we have to mention, and we have to congratulate the number 1 Nightmare himself, Noah the Nightmare Tyndall. Last night, he silenced those who were sitting there screaming the other person's name. He has slayed the supposed mini beast, and the Nightmare came for the beast, and he put the beast in his place. And I'm very happy and honored to say that last night Noah the Nightmare Tyndall was able to successfully defeat the beast, whatever the kid's name is, and we're very proud of the Nightmare Noah Tyndall. I want to say, I may or may not, I am very much aware of who he faced, and I think he might be one of the most overrated fighters of the area, and I think that's a lot of the management's fault. I think those who promote that young man have clouded his mind, and I think that's sad. But what the Nightmare did last night is reminded him and everyone else that he is legitimate and that he is the Nightmare. I happen to see some of the Nightmare's entrance, and you wouldn't believe the amount of people who were cheering for the other person in unison. And it, there's a sense of, I told you so, that I like to say. And you know what? A bunch of these shout-outs are people who I have said before are going to do big things, and people who are continuing to do big things in different aspects, I want to point out. So Noah the Nightmare Tyndall successfully winning his match last night. Also, his other mate and his fellow tag team partner, the Red-Headed Terror Anthony Demoweeks, also did very well last night, winning 2 gold medals, I believe it was. And we're very proud of him, that young man as well. He's new to our roster. He and Noah, both on the Icons of the F4L, and part of... they both train together, of course, and they're mates, of course, because they're from the same neck of the woods also. And, of course, they will be part of Team Warfare as well. And this will be Noah's 3rd tournament that he'll be taking part of. This will be the Red-Headed Terror's 2nd. And next year, I'm sure both will be involved in our Open MMA Challenge next year, along with a lot of these newcomers and a lot of the newer people who might be here, and the old classics, some of which you'll hear some more about in this shout-out piece. But congratulations to both Noah and the Red-Headed Terror, Anthony Demoweeks. Very proud of both of you lads. Well done. The third shout-out, I got to shout out the Menya boys, Henry and Hyro Menya. Hyro, I don't know if I gave him the proper props last weekend, but Hyro the Pitbull Menya yet again proves that the Menya boys continue to grow inside the fighting circle. They continue to add tools to their arsenal. They're still the most polite, well-mannered young men you'll ever meet until you get them in the ring. And then when they get in that ring, it's go time, and they bring it every single time. I am amazed by the amount of people who just seem to be catching on to some of these people right now. When I, weeks ago, said these people, not even weeks ago, I said way back when, you can ask them, I said these are people who are future UFC champions. Anthony, Noah the Nightmare Tyndall, Anthony Demmelweeks, the Redhead Terror, Henry and Jairo Mena, also the Adele boys, because we know they're going to be coming up as well. All four of them. I don't think there's any one of them that is not championship worthy. Newcomer Dmitry Chemikrov out of Los Angeles area. Elijah Furton, Action Jackson Baker. These are all future UFC champions. All of these young men continue to grow, continue to put the work in, and also stay relevant, stay healthy, stay smart. And Elijah Furton, I saw him sweeping up the floors at the gym. That shows a lot of respect to the pride of the dojo. I don't know what they call their dojos where they are, or what they call their training facilities. My day we called where we trained our dojo. I don't know what everyone calls their things, but all these young men who I mentioned are, locked and loaded to their prospective units and their prospective teams. I don't think there's any one of these young men who don't have the tools necessary to be future UFC champions or whatever they want. Because these are young men who know how to get it done, they put the work in, and they're going to get it done. Some of the hardest working young men, bar none, in any sport or any outfit, really. And I wish nothing but the best for every single one of them. And of course, yes, they're all icons of the F4L as well. Now the person I want to shout out for the first time is Igor Elichev, who just made his debut on our Icons of the F4L this year. He was originally, along with Dimitri, was supposed to start next year in 2024, but fans wanted something new, and we had some open slots, so we had them come on early, and they've already opened the floodgates and doing phenomenal. Igor Elichev is a Russian football player, or soccer to the world audience, and he's done very well for himself. He's also your current Dream Masters Universal Champion already. That goes to show you what kind of a young man this is, considering, remember folks, on our shows, we don't have any control over who does what. It's all the person, the system picks the winners. We have no control over any of it. And these, just another fine example. Speaking of which, Jack and Tim, the lucky ones. I have to take a moment. I wanted to acknowledge Jack and Tim for a second because I know I say their name a lot. But they're one of the... So, those people who watch our show, Jack and Tim, the lucky ones, are our father-son singing group from Britain's Got Talent. They're currently in Nashville recording albums. Very talented people. And yet, as talented and as awesome as they are, they take time to actually watch our show, and they enjoy being part of the Icons of the F4L. They get a thrill out of it. They've made it public that they watch our show, and they might be the only people of that caliber to, take that stance. I know that in the past we've had Jackson R. Scott mention it. Of course, the Prodigy himself, he did a show with me. But Jack and Tim, the lucky ones, they've been on a roster for a little while. They're not, by the way, fair warning, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. But I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the fact that Jack and Tim, not only are they talented outside the ring and they're doing this music stuff, but on our show they've really been leaders of a locker room. They've put on epic matches every single time, much like the Mena boys and the Adele boys. So much so that we're trying to do like a best of 2023, and the problem is there's so many classics this year, and I'm not even joking. On Icons of the F4L, there are so many bona fide legendary matches between either the Mena boys and the Adele boys, or the Lucky Ones and the Brooks Brothers Incorporated, or any group of those. They're phenomenal, in their own rights, and they've put on clinics every single time, all of these people. Same thing goes for the likes of Noah the Nightmare Tyndall, Anthony Demelweeks, Elijah Furton, Action Jackson Baker. They're already going to be there in that top perspective. They're already going to have best of matches. Trying to figure out, with the, when we do our end of the year thing, we do that watch along where we're going to focus on those best matches of 2023. It's going to be really hard to find which ones of those we're going to actually find, because there are so many of them, and we're proud of that. We're very proud of that indeed. So there's that. I want to also mention Dane Cook, of course, my fellow friend, the comedian, who has been on the roster for a little while. He's coming here to Boston. By the way, the family and I will be going to see Dane for the, in doing his show here in our hometown. I look forward to seeing Dane doing what he was always meant to be. As I told him years ago, you're going to be on stage telling jokes. He said, you're going to be in the ring wrestling. And we were both right. So there you go. So proud of Dane Cook for all his success. I don't care what anybody tells me or tells anybody else. Dane Cook has earned everything he's had in life, and he has overcome people who want to hate on him and people want to whatever. But Dane Cook has survived it all because he is Boston strong end of the day. So just remember that next time you talk about Dane Cook. Also want to mention, speaking of someone from the past, a very good close friend of mine, someone who was very, very developmental in my early career, is a gentleman named Sheldon Goldberg. Anyone in the wrestling community knows who that is. He's a wrestling historian. He's been around the wrestling business, knows more about the wrestling business than anybody else. And Sheldon Goldberg has written a new book. And we are actually tomorrow, I am scheduling to talk with Sheldon about bringing him on to the F4L Headquarters podcast so we can catch up. And also, he could tell you about his new book. Sheldon is one of the smartest people I know, and also someone early on who took a chance on me when I was younger and helped me and countless other young wrestling superstars in our area get to where we need to be. And I look forward to publicly on my show thanking Sheldon for all he has done for me particularly, but also everyone else too. And Sheldon, he's been around the business for a long time. He knows a lot of the business. He was one of the biggest promoters, part of the New England Championship Wrestling. Again, people who helped me get to where I need to be in life. Friends of mine work for NECW as well. And Sheldon is one of the most class act promoters out there, and I look forward to welcoming him to the show for the first time. And he would also be technically the first wrestling guest from my wrestling past that will be coming on the show. We look forward to him, other than Joe Bruin, who is also in the wrestling world too. Speaking of the wrestling world, people have asked me who my favorite tag team is. And this has been a debate that's gone on a lot. And for me, hands down, it's always going to be Demolition, Axe and Smash of Demolition. I know that there was a variation where they added another guy, Crush. And no offense to him, but for me, Demolition is Action Smash. And there are people out there who will question, who's better, them or the Road Warriors, or them or this, that, and the other one. When my son and I started Jazz and Sons Dream Matches, one of the first, groups of things we did were these epic dream matches between Demolition and those teams that they didn't really get a chance to really encounter. Granted, they did face the LOD, but let's face it, the Legion of Doom were not where they needed to be, and nor was Demolition where they were either. And people who wanted to debate with me about Demolition being the better of the tag teams in the 80s, I'm sorry, but their music hit, and Demolition were a different breed altogether. And you can make points that Legion of Doom or the Road Warriors were whatever. And I don't think it necessarily has to do with your region, because I watched everything when I was younger. I watched all wrestling. I knew who the Road Warriors were, and I knew who Demolition was, Axe and Smash. And to me, I didn't ever question, or nor did I look at one and say they were a copy of the other. They were completely different breeds. Now, you want to talk about the Powers of Pain, now that's a different story. I would say, if you're going to compare apples to oranges, I would say the Powers of Pain are probably as close to the Road Warriors than Demolition was. It was a completely different breed of a thing. They understood what charismatic was. They understood what showmanship was. They knew what fear was. They could be heel. They could be face. They were tough as nails. They looked like grown men. They were tough. And so when people ask me who your favorite tag team is, I passionately say Demolition would be at the very top of that list. And I have to also say I'm very happy because it looks like Demolition, whoever watches their Demolition stuff, is finally getting to see some of the things that my son and I have done over the years, because recently they have been posting things from our early days of our Jazz and Sun Stream Matches days, when we featured Demolition against these other teams that priorly they didn't get to face. And I'm honored that Demolition's still here. And I also want to point out Demolition's still here, ladies and gentlemen. They're still alive and kicking and breathing. They're still tough as nails. They're still, and I can't say enough about Demolition. They're still here. The Road Warriors are not. I don't mean to throw shade like that, but Demolition is the better of the two. I'm sorry to break your hearts, everyone. Demolition's just the better. And the reason we say that is because every time we put Demolition against any of the other tag teams, including everyone's current favorites, Demolition is won, hand down, every single time. So I want to point that out and acknowledge Demolition for being my favorite tag team of all time. And people who I aspired to, when I became a wrestler, I said I want to be that good of a tag team that we could have that kind of a menacing thing. Now clearly I was not as big as Demolition. Axis Smasher would tower over me. But the persona, living life louder than most, the music, the feeling, the charisma, that is something that I mirrored and aspired to do when I became into the wrestling world. And I think it's important also for people like myself who idolized or respected these men who inspired us to get into the business, to give thanks and praise where it belongs. So Demolition, Axe and Smash, the greatest tag team that I've ever seen in years. Now granted, there are some good other tag teams after that, but Demolition starts that line. Everyone else is right behind them. Sorry to break your hearts, but I'm not. They earned that spot. So there's that. I want to acknowledge Gus Jeffers, who is a up and rising musician. Sports, wrestling, music. I know what you're saying. We're all over the place, but you know what? It's good to be aware of who real dream matches are and dream masters are. And it's also good to realize that there's so many talented people out there in the world, and there's so many amazing future world leaders among these people. They are all fantastic human beings. They're all hardworking human beings, which is why they're getting a shout out. And whatnot. So, Gus Jeffers is a singer. Is a singer who is up and rising in the singing community. As people are just seeing that I'm people are apparently just seeing that I am shouting them out now, and they're liking it. So, yep, no worries. So yes, no worries. But anyway, Gus Jeffers, up and coming rising musician, who we respect a lot and we think a lot right of. Speaking of up and coming musicians, we talked about Jack and Tim. They're also musicians. But I guess we also should acknowledge Elliot Fulham, who, for those people who don't know, he is the original punk rocker, and he was also Jonathan in Terrifier 2, which we'll chat about in a second. But all of them are crushing their own music genre. You know what I think is amazing is how they are in their own genres and they're comfortable in those, and that they are continuing to grow within them. I have to admit, and I'll say it again, I do wish Gus would do things that weren't Justin Bieber. I'm not overly fond of Justin Bieber's music, but if Gus is singing it, I'll listen to it because I believe in Gus. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but and I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm not in. For me, it's the person, not so much the music. And Gus Jeffers is a very respectful, polite young man. His mom is a very nice woman. I have a lot of respect for him and his team. So, all honesty, I'll support Gus all day. I just wish he wouldn't do any more Justin Bieber because I'm not overly fond of him. That's just my own personal feeling. Celtic Thunder, by the way, they won our Team Warfare event last year, if you guys don't remember. And, of course, that is why Team Warfare 2023 we'll talk about later. You're going to sneak one in, didn't you? All right. I wanted to acknowledge some new friends of mine, people who are in the tennis world. And, of course, people have asked me, Jazz, are you into, what sports don't you watch? What sports do you consider not to be sports? In all honesty, I support people who believe in themselves and who have passion in whatever they do. It doesn't matter if it's sports or entertainment. If they're passionate about it, I support it. And I don't care what sport it is. I don't care if it's MMA. I don't care if it's soccer. Or football. I don't care if it's swimming. I don't care if it's diving. I don't care if it's boxing. I don't care if it's tennis, golf, hockey, basketball. Who cares? If everyone's working together for a team, who cares what sport it is? I support the people who will put in the work in to achieving their goals and also being leaders in their genre. And admittedly, I've not played competitive tennis. I have played tennis for fun. I love badminton as well, which is different than tennis, by the way. But I have played tennis for fun. I know how hard it is, but I also know how fun it is, too. Especially if you do teams and you have the right people. But tennis can be a lot of fun. It takes a lot of commitment, a lot of time to get that thing down. And again, it's a sport of mathematics. It's a sport of intestinal fortitude. But it's also, I have to say, for the most part, a lot of tennis players seem to have that kind of same persona. Well, two new friends of mine who call themselves the two tennis bros. That would be Tim and Artem. They are two tennis brothers out of, well, I guess they're all over the place now, but they're out of the UK, and currently they're playing a tournament right now in Dubai. Dubai is really catching a lot of things lately. Dubai seems to be doing a lot in tennis and a lot of other sports as of late. I'm curious what it is about Dubai that seems to be like the new sports capital of the world. Tennis seems to be going on there quite a bit. The finals and martial art tournaments, wrestling, and numerous other things keep going on in Dubai. I don't know what I'm missing there, but regardless, Tim and Artem are two young brothers, and they're in rising stars in the soccer world. And what I really wanted to acknowledge is the fact that they understand the showmanship, and they also stand out. A lot of people who play tennis, they seem to have that sort of same look as a tennis player. And I got to say, first and foremost, me being me and knowing how I am, I respect anybody who can wear white, because you will never see me wearing white, all white if anything. And tennis players, for the most part, wear mostly white. To me, never will you see me wearing white. That is a bad idea for me. I could be the most careful eater in the world. It doesn't matter. I am a hard, grueling individual, and white will not be white long with me. I am too brutal for white. So, but these two young brothers don't necessarily fit in that model because they have very, very, very vibrant colored outfits. They dress very... the colors that they use are very stylish. And I think what's important about that is the fact that where they play against these other people wearing the traditional whites or the traditional blacks or the very basic tennis look, when you wear a bright, vibrant color, like these young men know how to get that pastel thing going. I don't know how that works, but they do it very well. And when you have those colors, that basically sends a message to the opponent that you are full of life, and that sets you aside from everyone else. When everyone else is wearing that traditional white or black and you're wearing these bright, vibrant colors, guess what? You are the one that stands out of that entire group. You can have the best tennis player in the world, and they could be dressed there in all white and black, but here these people come around, these two young brothers, for example, Tim and Artem, come up, and they are wearing all these pastel colors, the blues, the greens, the pastels, I don't know. They've invented colors I didn't even know existed. I didn't know you could make clothes out of some colors, but they make them very well. So I want to acknowledge them for their fashion sense, but also their work ethic. They're constantly working hard. They're constantly traveling for these events, and they support each other. And in conversations with them, being brothers, I have younger siblings. Now, granted, they weren't huge into sports. But we are also very competitive. To believe it or not, my son and I are very competitive ourselves. Father-son, we are both competitive with each other and people. But it's a positive, like Tim and Artem, like any other brothers, is that sibling rivalry that is only the sibling rivalry, but it's built out of a house of love. But I know how that is. I grew up with two brothers, and I know how that being in constant competition with each other, and in games, for example, I will play anybody in anything at least once. By the way, fun fact. My entire life, there was a sense of rule. There was a sense of thing I used to be able to say. Up until 19 years ago, anyway. But, 22. Up to 22 years ago, I used to have a name to claim, which was, no one has ever been able to beat me 3 times in a row in anything. Not in sports, not in a game, in nothing. No one's been able to beat me 3 times in a row in any kind of an activity, any kind of a game, ever. Until my kids. And my daughter was the first one to do so. So, well, I guess if I'm going to lose to someone, I'm glad it was someone I'm related to. But my daughter and my son are the only people to successfully be able to beat me 3 times in a row in something. I'm not ashamed to admit that. It just means that I raised people who are better than me. It's okay. But just want to acknowledge our friends, the tennis bros, Tim and Artem, for being standout tennis players. And I believe that they will be the future Andre Agassi if they choose, or the next Roger Federer, because they are also people known for their charismatic behavior off the court. So wish them the best. Now, we're going to change the mood a little bit because the next group of shout-outs is actually very particular. So, Ants, hit that music, Ants, for me, will you? All right, now I know that was not from the group of people, the film I'm about to talk about, and the people I'm about to shout out. However, That's the best I got. Sorry, folks. Anywho, I wanted to acknowledge a few people who I don't think people understand how important these people are. And as a filmmaker, and as an indie filmmaker particularly, these people should be deemed cinematic heroes. Groundbreaking and absolute pioneers. So I want to take a moment to recognize Damien Leone and Michael Levy particularly. Now, whether you know the names or not, I'm going to tell you, they are the people behind the Terrifier and the Terrifier 2 series, and they are single-handedly two people who everyone who is an independent filmmaker should absolutely be looking at them and thanking them for breaking history, for making history and breaking records. Let me tell you why. Damien Leone made the film Terrifier 1. And then he went with his team, Michael Levy also being one of those people. And he and his team, along with fellow cast members David Howard Thornton, Lauren Lavera, Elliot Fulham, Wesley Holloway, and numerous other people, or in the team that is behind the Terrifier 2 series. What they did for independent filmmakers is break open that door. Now, Terrifier 2, a lot of people might remember last year it was out, and that would feature the notorious Art the Clown, played by David Howard Thornton. Bill Skarsgård's got some things. You know, prior to Art the Clown, I think a lot of people would probably argue that if it's not Pennywise the Clown being portrayed by Bill Skarsgård, then Tim Curry would be the two most terrifying clowns. I'm not going to acknowledge people who were dressed up as costumes in the film or anything like that. I'm talking about characters who were made as characters who dressed as clowns. Now, technically, it, or Pennywise, technically he's a shapeshifter, and technically he's not just a clown. Art, however, has a lot of mystique behind him, and he is maybe the silent and deadliest type of clowns. David Howard Thornton has absolutely... If you're not afraid of clowns yet, that movie might get you there. But what I want to acknowledge is the fact that while after they made that Terrifier 1 movie, Damien Leone and his team, Michael Levy, and all these important people went to all the conventions everywhere, and they would raise funds for the film after Terrifier 1. That film, fans, the people who contributed from the shows, everyone put money into this film that became Terrifier 2. Why do I say that's important? Because it is the first fully funded independent film that has been successful and has smashed box office expectations. And I'm not exaggerating. Last year, Terrifier 2, that a lot of people would probably say, oh, that's never going to go to a theater. That's not going to sit there long. These Hollywood blockbusters are going to overtake that. Oh, no. People were going to the theaters in droves to see the antics of Art the Clown. It became pop culture status. It became a pop culture phenomenon. And then the reports of people passing out in the theaters and the hysteria that followed around it that forced more people to go to the theaters. That film that a lot of people never would have thought would ever hit a major theater, not only did it hit theaters, it kept the theaters alive and continued to stay in the theaters longer than anyone would have ever expected a film of its magnitude to do. And that was a fully endorsed fan film-funded film. Think about that one. All these big, huge studios that everyone talks about. And it was the fans and the team that built and made that magic happen. You know, you could say, well, you know, they got these people that maybe you didn't know. But you know what? After that movie, people know their names. Lauren Lavera, who played Sienna in Terrifier 2. Can anyone tell me anyone in the last 10 years who has portrayed a badass female fighter or badass in a horror movie in the last 10 years? Lauren Lavera. She is the modern day horror version of Wonder Woman. You might not know her name then, but now you know who she is, because she is a tough woman. She brought that fight to that clown. That in that movie, the clown does some clowny things. I'm not going to spoil any of it, because guess what? It's coming back to theaters this week for 2 days. And yes, my family and I are going to see it, because we believed in it then. We believe in it now. And all of the amazing people that were part of that film made history. I don't think people understand the impact that Terrifier 2 actually did. You could talk about all of these other groundbreaking Jordan Peele movies or all these other huge things that that everyone thinks are great. Barbarians of the world and the A24s. But guess what? Damien Leone and his team, Team Art the Clown, along with their fans, made history and silenced every single one of those records. And it was actually in theaters longer than all of those other films and continued to grow. And it was all crowdfunded. People who believed in Damien Leone and his vision backed him, and me and my fellow convention lovers are people who believed in him. And we backed him at all those shows. And you know what? Magic happened. So, you know, when people talk about what the most impactful movie is in the last 10 years, right? You have to put Terrifier 2 as being the top of that list now. Now, you can say, well, you know, these other movies that Jordan Peele did, or, you know, John Woo and all these other people did, that they're big, like the Conjuring universe, the Insidious universe. Those are great films, right? But they're films that are backed by huge studios that have backings of people who have money and power. Damien Leone was backed by the people who go to see these films. And that is why the Terrifier 2 is the most impactful movie in the last, I don't know how long. Because what it proves is, one, if the fans believe in you, your film will work. Because Damien Leone proved that with Terrifier 2. And I think we have to give a moment to honor him and give a moment to thank Damien Leone, Michael Levy, and all of the people that made Terrifier 2 the success it is. Everyone from them to the amazing cast, the David Howard Thorntons, Lauren Lavera, Elliot Fulham, really one of his first breakout roles in Hollywood. I remember seeing Elliot at the conventions that I used to work at, because we grew up in the same sport, the same place. He and his parents I've known for years. And I remember seeing his parents as vendors at the conventions. And to see Elliot rise to both in the music world and in the Hollywood world, I couldn't be prouder, as he's a fellow monster maniac for life. And he's doing great work. His parents are fantastic people. And they stay level, and they continue just to be successful, and they continue to be humble and to be awesome at everything that they do. All the people who work with Damien Leone seem to be people who have a passion for everything that they put into. Wesley Holloway is a young man who didn't have a huge role in Terrifier 2, but he had a very memorable role. That song that I almost put on here, but I didn't because maybe if we have him or one of these people on, we'll play it then. And by the way, I do have it saved on here. I'm just not going to play it right now because it will get stuck in your head. But Wesley Holloway is a young man who has a lot of presence, a lot of acting experience, who brought a small piece of that and is going to lead Michael Levy in his new project that I'm excited about called Scream. And of course, he's going to be working on that with one of the biggest icons in horror and someone who predicted my marriage, the very underrated Danielle Harris. Danielle Harris, the original Scream Queen, one half of the Talk Scared to Me podcast. Her and Scout Compton on Talk Scared to Me, they are breaking groundwork. I love my podcast. I love doing what I do for you guys. But what they do on their show, it is hardcore, man. They're doing bigger. They're amazing at what they do. What they bring to the table is huge. Now, by the way, young people, you probably don't want to go listen to the Talk Scared to Me podcast. If you are under 18, I do suggest you listening with parental supervision. But the Talk Scared to Me podcast is probably one of the most influential podcasts, breaking groundwork, making history, and it's two actresses who are scream queens on their own, together working to bring the reality of humility to the world. They talk about their life being in the film world and around it. They talk about the conventions, and they're passionate about it. They are legitimate scream queens who earn their spot and also aren't shallow enough to acknowledge their fans. They understand their fans. They love their fans. They're appreciative of their fans. And there are some other scream queens who aren't as open and honest or as accepting of their horror roots as much as Danielle and Scout are. Scout and Danielle are probably the toughest, edgiest, honest people in podcast world. In the human race. Very brave women. I have a lot of respect for both of them. And the fact that I saw that Danielle Harris is going to be working with Damien Leone on this and Michael Levy on this new project, and Wesley Holloway is also on this project, I am excited for them. And rumor has it that there may be a Terrifier 3 in the works. I don't know anything about that, but you know what? I'm in. I'm in because this is a team that has made history and continues to make history. And I want to again thank Damien Leone and Michael Levy and the amazing team that they are for making history and opening the door to all the filmmakers everywhere who never thought possible that fans would believe in them so much that they could get their little film onto the big screen and have it dominate the box office like the Terrifier 2 did. So, pride to you guys. Thank you guys. And yes, my daughter and I will be going to see that along with some other folks on Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll chat about that later on tonight with more of that. So, ants, you know what you got to do, right? All right. Hold on. All right, that's our update bell, I guess. All right, here's an update. So you guys know, Wednesday I did a show and just gave you guys information about things that I knew about the SAG strike. I offered my 2 cents, which was more me just telling and speaking the law. and speaking the facts and how it is looking to everyone else. And I'm saddened to say that this strike's continuing still. And I think one of the problems right now, I'm not going to go into it again because I feel like it's a waste of time, because I feel like, you guys know that old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. I'm not so certain that the people who I did that for are aware of the things that I laid out there, and the severity and the honesty of all of it. Because in all actuality, their show and what they did, the show, the magnitude of what they're saying, they're either, one, SAG is lying to all of us, the people, being the people who go to the films for sympathy or empathy or whatever, or two, they're lying to their members. So, in scenario one, the SAG is lying, and they're telling their acting friends what's going on, and their acting friends are also contributing to the lies and supporting the lies and breaking the law willingly, in acknowledging the fact that they are now breaking the law. There are rules, laws in place that say that you guys can't do some of the things that all of you are doing. And again, I'm not taking the stance of the studios, and I'm not taking the stance of SAG. I'm talking about my friends who are in the middle of this, the people who want to go back to work. My friends can't go back to work because there's these debates about, payments and, quote, a fair deal. So either one, the actors don't know that a very fair deal was already offered. The same deal, by the way, that was offered to the writers' union and the directors' union. Your SAG leader said no. Your SAG leader turned down the same deal that brought the writers and the directors back to work. Your acting guild prevented you from not going back to work because that deal, the same one they offered them, wasn't good enough for SAG. There's an issue here, folks. The issue is either one, your leaders are lying to you and they're roping you guys along for who knows what, or two, you know they are and you're going along with it, and that would make me lose a lot of respect for a lot of people if I knew that willingly that this is deceitful and that this is not honest, and at this point, it's a bullying thing. I'm sorry to use that term, but that's what it is now. Things were offered, and now your SAG leaders are making you bullies. You can't how to dress for Halloween and guidelines on that. Again, that's a violation of human rights, as well as it's breaking the law. And also, in that same bill, you are not allowed to attack or criticize or go after anyone who crosses the picket line. That's against the law. And you guys have willingly gone after people on social media for speaking, for wanting to go back to work. Good examples of that. Stephen Amell. Stephen Amell being one, and then another one was Sarah Silverman. And what happens is every time someone says no, SAG or the members go after that person, makes it unbearable, and then they have to recant their dissatisfaction. Same thing goes for Ryan Reynolds and all these other people who are shaking their heads at you, SAG, and everybody else. When you constantly tell someone that they are wrong, and who are in a union, who are on strike, and you are constantly attacking people who want to go to work and cross the picket line, that's against the law too. And that's a bullying thing, whether you want to call it that or not. Sorry, but that's reality. And the other part about it is, I want to say, at some point, you guys are going to put everyone collectively, I'm talking about the audience, the filmmakers, the film goers. You are going to lose the respect and the integrity of your audience the longer this thing goes out. Because let me tell you, things that have already been out, people can get. People are going to get so sick of seeing people who are out there who want to go back to work and picketing versus all the other things that are going on in the world right now, like war, the poverty, the attacks on various things, the violence in the world. That takes precedence over people who aren't happy about how they're working in film. Because guess what? The people who died in the middle of all of this, all of the people who have died now, in the middle of all of these antics, in the middle of your strike, all those people who have lost their lives for things that have nothing to do with you or the production or anything else, those take center stage over anyone's unhappy working environment. Sorry to tell you, as far as news headlines go and compassion for others. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm ready to boycott all of it. Oh, boycott. That's another thing that American audiences or people can do against all of it. I don't think anyone has ever thought of that either. So while SAG and the studios are out there arguing while everyone else is on strike, have you ever guys thought about what happens if your audience gets so sick of this and feels more compassion for the people who have lost their lives and the people and the violence going on in the world and the other important factors? What happens if everyone collectively says, you know what, we don't want to watch any of this anymore? There's plenty of old things for us to watch elsewhere. A boycott of all of these streaming platforms that are involved right now, a boycott of every single one of these projects. Because guess what? In the scheme of things, yeah, I'm sorry, but I am more willing to, I am going to feel more compassion for a child or people that have been hurt than listen to people who are upset about working environments or people who are still negotiating for people. And you know what? Eventually, I can't be the only one who's sick of hearing about it. I know I'm not. And eventually, your audience is going to turn on you. Every single one of you. And that's your leadership. That's the people who are in charge. Those are the people who are negotiating. I saw someone say that you believe in your negotiating team. I showed you guys who your negotiating team is. Do you even know who that was? Do you really think that person was relevant? By the way, those job openings are still a thing. You still have no general counsel. You still have no CFO. What are you doing? What are you doing? Guess what you can do? Go out, talk to your lead. Go talk to your union rep and say, I want to go back to work. Enough of this. Because right now, she's making a mockery out of all of you. The negotiating team is keeping you out of work. Any of those projects, I said this the other night, anything that you started working on is now gone. If you were hired for a job, or you were hired or booked, as they say in the film world, if you were booked for a role in any project that was supposed to film in the last who knows how long, it's gone. Your role's gone. The film project's done. I'll tell you why. Because people change in that time. If you were a young person who was booked for a role, that role's gone because now that film has to cast someone else because you're now too old or too tall or whatever the case may be to take that role now. So that's gone. And the same thing goes for anyone else up and down that board. Anyone, and then the other thing is now what happens is because if you guys get that raise and all that other stuff, you become so expensive to book for any of those roles that someone who might have booked you because of the race that you had before, now can't hire you because you're too expensive. Yeah, you're too expensive now, so now you're going to be released for someone who might be cheaper. Or, well, actually, there is no one cheaper. If you go SAG, you got to pay the right regardless. And that's where the problems are. I said before, if I was to tell you what it costs to hire in a SAG actor, you know what? I'm going to do that this week. Wednesday, right? You guys have seen me before. You guys have heard on this show before. I have done these mock casting things. So on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, I will do another show. On that show, I'm going to break down for an independent filmmaker what it would cost to make a project, make a film under SAG rules prior. And then we'll do it for SAG rules in the future. And you'll understand exactly why a lot of people are rolling their eyes at all of this. People who aren't in the business rolling their eyes. Now, people who are in the business, we can understand wanting to be compensated for things that you worked on. We understand that you want to protect your identity. These are things that were already protected. These are things that are already been offered to you that your union reps has said, no, now we want more. And they're more worried about what costumes you wear when you're protesting for them. And I'm sorry, but you're all looking like fools. And the studios are looking like they're idiots too because they allow it. Because they could have ended this a long time ago and by saying this is the final thing and that's it. We'll just fire everybody. And not use... They could fire SAG, all these studios, and just go the independent route. You realize that. If they do that, then they can get all of the many talented people who never get the chance because they always will go to SAG people first. And let me tell you, as someone who uses a lot of those independent film people and the people who are not SAG, there are many talented people who are not SAG that would do the same performance, less money, same great performance. So that might be something you might want to think about. What if the studios, all these people decide, you know what, no more SAG. No more SAG actors. Well, now you do this all for nothing, and you are all out of a job regardless. This is something that no one thinks about. This is what the damage control thing looks at. Like, what happens at the worst case scenario? Did anybody talk about the worst case scenarios? Like, what if you get fired? What if you can't go back to work? What if the studios just say, you know what? We'll just get some independent. We'll just get to people who aren't SAG. We'll just scrap SAG altogether. Break ties with them all. Because guess what? There are talented people all over the world who are not SAG, who will take the jobs, less money, less constrictions, and filmmakers will gladly give them the opportunity that would go to the person who is SAG. Just because you have a SAG card doesn't mean you're better than Joe Schmo, who can do the same role just as good, just doesn't have that SAG card. Some people don't want the SAG card, me being one of them. I don't have a SAG card, I don't have a WAG card. I don't want either one. I am perfectly happy being an independent filmmaker who is not union. Because someone needs to stand the ground for those people, and there are many people like me. And as far as wanting a piece of the pie, as I've heard one of the actors say, a piece of the pie for Netflix and all these other places in Prime. Listen, I said this before, I'm going to say it one more time. Really simple. If you want something that you've worked on, sure. If your project's on there, then you can have a piece of whoever gets something on that element. However, you are not entitled to something that someone who didn't work who isn't SAG had worked on. Do I make that clear? You are not entitled to taking someone else's opportunity or money away from them. There are a lot of people it takes to put on a movie. Anybody can tell you that. Anyone who's ever worked on a film knows how many people it actually takes to make a successful film, or make a mediocre film even. And let me tell you this. It is, you know what? I'm going to wait, and I'll do this show on Wednesday. I almost guarantee we're still going to be talking about this coming Wednesday anyway. The SAG is going to continue to be on strike. And I'm going to, on Wednesday, show the people how much it actually costs to book a SAG-related actor, an actress, or whatnot. I will do exactly like I used. I will use only SAG things, and I will tell you exactly why it's so expensive and exactly what the reality of it is. And then no one's going to probably feel sorry for anybody anymore, because the filmmaker, the independent filmmaker, are the ones suffering. And I want to say this again because I did cut myself off to emphasize what I'm going to do on Wednesday. People who put together all of those independent films that are not union, you who are in SAG have no right to any of those offerings or any of those things. And that is why that is not a, quote, fair deal. And that is why you do not deserve a piece of my pie or one of my fellow filmmakers, independent filmmakers' pies. Because you didn't work for it. You didn't do any work for that. You had nothing to do with it. You're not entitled to that pie. Thank you. All right. Moving on. Thank you very much. Ants? All right. Yeah, that was for my wife, actually, and that was because we're about to talk about Team Warfare 2023 real quick. And for those people who don't know, my wife is a veteran. She was in the Army Reserves, and she has served, and I'm very proud of her for being a veteran. So, yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. But anyway, Team Warfare 2023 is coming up. I'm not going to go too deep into this because my son's going to be joining me later this week as we're going to be going over the teams who will be involved this year in 2023's Team Warfare tournament. What I can tell you, as you got the hint earlier when I mentioned Celtic Thunder, last year Celtic Thunder were actually the winners of Team Warfare 2022. So, because of that, this year, 2023, the Team Warfare tournament will be held in Dublin, Ireland. That's right, folks. We have already built the arena, and everyone in the Dream Masters and the Dream Warriors will be heading to Dublin, Ireland. Anyone who's on the icons of the F4L will be heading to Dublin, Ireland for this year's 2023 Team Warfare event. So, one of the good things about having, a lot of our stars being, animated is the fact that whether they can fly or not, they get to go no problem. They don't have to worry about cramped in an airplane or eating the airplane food because they're going anyway, magically. But yes, this year's 2023 Team Warfare event will take place in Dublin, Ireland, and that is because last year's winners, Celtic Thunder, won, and because of that, we are going to go to the home of Celtic Thunder in Ireland. So that is a fun, quick update, and I will be back this week with my son as we go over the teams. So where are your favorite stars going to be? Who are they going to be teaming with? And what are the names of these teams? And is anyone being excluded? And what are the rules? And we'll go over that this coming week. We'll be going over that very soon because the event starts on the 4th. So make sure you're there to see that then. All right, cool. Ants. All right, folks. This is kind of the end of our show. Isn't that sad? So anyway, one of the things I wanted to say is to encourage people to spend time with those they love. This week, I'm very happy and excited as tonight, very meaning literally tonight, and very shortly I'm going to get ready to leave as I'm meeting my wife, and our family and I are going to go see the theatrical return of Nightmare Before Christmas as a family. It's a family favorite. It's also a Halloween tradition in our house that everyone watches A Nightmare Before Christmas. Of course, that's the Tim Burton claymation type of thing, stop motion, I guess you'd say, with Johnny Depp and Christopher Sarandon and all of them. And we're very excited for that. So we're going to go see that later on tonight, which is why part 2 of the show will be later tonight after I get home. As we'll have our Halloween spooktacular later on tonight. But and then later this week, my daughter and I, also on Wednesday, will be going to see Terrifier 2 in theaters. Again, along with many other people will be taking part in that. We have a whole group of us going to see it, as it is groundbreaking, and we couldn't be prouder. And we want to do everything we can to support Damien Leone and all of the team for Terrifier 2 and all of our friends to see them again. And I'm going to get that song stuck in my head, and I can just hear my daughter. My daughter has not seen this yet, and some of our friends haven't either. And I swear that song is going to get stuck in everybody's head, and I bet I know who's going to be cosplaying as the clown woman from there shortly after. But very excited to share that with my daughter, who is my horror companion. My son doesn't like horrors that much, but, that's okay. We still love him. But my daughter is very much the person I do the horror movies with and so forth. And, of course, we'll all be going to see Dane Cook in my hometown, in our hometown, where Dane and I both grew up. So I'm very proud of that, and I'm honored to share that moment with my family as well. And the moral of that story is, a lot of people, they're busy, and I get, people have responsibilities, and you're working, and you're doing all of these things for your family. But I think what's also important is I feel like it's really important for you guys collectively. I think that it's important to spend that time with your family when you have them. Whether you're young or old, whenever you get a moment to be with your family, you have an event like going to a concert or going to a show or going to a movie, I encourage people to take those moments. You don't have a lot of those in life. As a parent of 2 amazing kids are only kids for so long. At one point they're young and they're wearing diapers, and then they're not wearing diapers, and now they're throwing them at you. It's a love and hate relationship for a little while in their teens, and then they become amazing adults afterwards. I'm proud of our kids, and I'm proud that I have an amazing woman who helped me raise. How together we raised 2 amazing human beings who are F4L through and through. I'm proud that my daughter is an amazing human being. My son is an amazing human being. My son might be a little more quieter, believe it or not, other than the shows, than my daughter is, but he is very much a part of the family, and we love him tremendously. His birthday is next month, by the way, folks. So Sean Awesome will be turning 21 years old next month, and we'll be celebrating that, next month, of course. And that'll be on the 12th of November. My mother's birthday and my uncle, as they were twins, it was the 14th. So, interesting thing that is. So, there's that. Well, folks, I just want to encourage you guys to spend the time with your families when you can. That's the moral of that. It doesn't take long. It's a long day. Check with your kids. Ask them how their day was. Remember that, when you were parents, it's easy for us to get caught up with our own adult stuff, to be worried about bills or jobs or conflicts in the world. But remember, if it's confusing for us, if we're having a hard time with it, our kids are having just as much of a hard time. They might be afraid to ask. They may be intimidated to bring it up. But remember that we as adults need to make sure our kids are, one, safe, respectful, responsible, and ultimately happy. And every person everywhere in the world deserves those things. It saddens me that in the world we have sadness, and there's a lot of people who are losing their lives and a lot of sad things going on. I was thankful that my daughter's friend who was in Maine was safe from the issues there this week, and I want to offer my condolences to all of them who were affected by that. And, the world is full of sadness and sorrow, but one of the things on this show we like to do is highlight the good things in the world and the good people in the world. And we as parents have to remember that our kids look to us for guidance. They look for us for wisdom. And if we are not around to give it to them, they're going to get their wisdom from somewhere else, and we don't know who that is or why that is. So I just want to urge parents to, spend a little extra time with your kids. Say hello to them. Find out how their day was. Kids generally already know any issues that are going on in the house. As someone who was a kid at one point, I remember how that was. But we all know how that turns out, right? But remember, your kids are only kids for so long, and then they're adults. They go from wanting to do everything with you to sometimes you and the friends, and sometimes, we'll see each other here and there. So just remember, spend those times with your family when you can. You don't know what tomorrow happens. You don't know what tomorrow brings. No one's guaranteed tomorrow, and that's a sad reality, but it's a reality nonetheless. So what I'd like to do for anyone affected this week by the tragedies, but also in solidarity with all of the other sadness of the world and all of the senseless violence that has penetrated innocent lives everywhere. Someone needs to be the voice of all of those people to offer solidarity and offer peace, wisdom, in the F4L way: love, care, and compassion, understanding and respect for each other's differences. So, for that, along with well-known celebrities, Richard Mole, one of my wife's favorite actors, and also Matthew Perry from the Friends series, and numerous other people. For the first time ever, I'd like to play this in memory of them as we close out our show. May all your dreams come true. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And again, may all your dreams come true. Peace, everybody.